बस 2 मिनट में स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं guys. 2 minutes and we start. All right, hello. Good morning, guys. How's everyone doing? Expect a long live stream today. Around, I don't know, 3 hours should be good enough. I was making a video right before this. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but the video was contributing to Deepmind. Deepmind came in GSOC this year. God, if I had this opportunity a few years ago. But you guys do. Yeah, it's very hard to get into an AI lab. They're the ones leading everything. And even though you might not be able to get a research role, through open source, at least you can get into GSOC. Very simple projects, which might lead to a lot of competition, so maybe not. But it's a good opportunity if anyone wants to, there are a lot of repositories, but the one that caught my eye this time was DeepMind. Ke bhai, chalo, thankfully, at least one pretty solid org has come to GSOC. I mean, all orgs are solid, but this one's just, finally an AI lab. So I was going through the issues. I've gone through a bunch of them. And one I was able to solve. The video is live. You can see it. I would urge you to see that. So that setup procedure is clear from there. And now we'll try to solve others. I know one biggie that's still present. Their fine-tuning API doesn't have a Node.js SDK. So we can do that. I'll take it simple. Slowly karke we'll build it up. I'll try to keep it beginner friendly, but at some point we'll have to eject and because it's I think it'll be a longer issue. Also will be very exploratory. We'll have to see their code base, the pretty solid code base, by which I mean tests are there, very well structured. Every file is doing different things. Every file has its own unit tests. So it won't be easy. It might take some time. So we'll see. We might pick a big small issue. I also think there is a bug somewhere. Of course, most probably I'm wrong. So that might be another thing we pick up. But as you guys were saying, let me set the context for the live stream. Today, we're trying to contribute to a GSOC org, and not just any GSOC org. Deepmind, inki history, moti, I think, is that they were an independent AI company that eventually got acquired by Google. Few of my seniors have worked here. So there's this super senior of mine called Abhishek Das. He went to do research at Georgia Tech. I don't know. I think he did his master's or PhD. I think he did his master's. And during the summer, he worked here. That was the initial days of Deepmind when I think they got recently acquired. This was like a few years ago. And इतना ही context है मेरे को DeepMind का. That's where I heard about it for the first time. There are other AI divisions in Google. I think Google Brain is one. Another senior of mine who lives in Noida only works there. So I was trying to get her to the school. I forgot to ping her, and I'll try to do that. तो ये है भाई DeepMind. I think Gemini is owned by these guys only, by which I mean, the LLM client SDKs are all owned by people working there. I actually could be wrong. Most GitHub contributors I saw on DeepMind were Google employees and not DeepMind employees. So we'll try and contribute to the code base. Mota mota, there are 2 orgs. I'll paste the link to both of them. Google Gemini Generative AI JS. That's the first repository we might be. Let me just put it here. That's the first repository we might be contributing to, and the second one will be actually there are 3. That's the second one, and the third one is the cookbook, which is Gemini cookbook, this one right here. So we'll probably be spending our time in one of these 3. If you look at their GSOC ideas list, I think 70% of the project, 60-70, like 6-7 projects basically, involve contributing to these repositories or a bunch of sister libraries like Continue or Aider, or what's the other one? LangChain, and what's that company? Compose, hai shayad unka naam? These. So all of these are apps built on top of LLMs. All of these are Gemini specific repositories. We'll see which one we contribute to, but if you look at the ideas list, no, that's not it. Nope. But that does. This is a good repository, by the way. If you're looking for ideas, I don't know if it's maintained. It is maintained. This is by another senior of mine who's really smart. So feel free to look at this repo for some ideas that you might want to implement yourself. But the one that I was talking about was, let's see, this one right here, ideas list. This one, so you'll find a bunch of ideas that they're proposing. Some of them are very simple. For example, this one, you should be, like, anyone should be able to do this. And even non-technical people should be able to do this one. So I don't think this will make the cut for the final GSOC projects. The others are interesting. Some of them are related to a testing framework called OSS Fuzz. I think 3 of them. Then let's see, some of them are, I've already talked about this in the video, so just go through the video and, look at the project ideas, description categories. Any other questions before we start? Let me do a poll before we start. I hope the poll wins in one direction that I'm hoping for, but are we good to go, guys? Am I sharing the screen? I am. All right. Poll. What should we do? Contribute to JS repo, contribute to Py repo, contribute to cookbook, or I don't know, do something else, which will probably be deploying mobile magic, which is deploying something, which is another project that sort of is top of stack for me to deploy right now. The poll is up, guys. What do you guys want to do? Video quality, what's up with that? कि भाई आज बहुत live आ रहे हो, बस sort of free right now. Super 30 sort of ended. So a little too free. If you guys might notice, the background is the old one because I don't have to go to the office as much. But so yeah, that's pretty much the reason. But it'll swindle down as soon as either the next Super 30 starts or the school starts. All right, we have a clear winner. So contributing to the JS repo it is. Bangalore meetup is, it's not like an official Bangalore meetup that I'm doing. It's a Solana event where I'll also be there and I have a few talks and workshops. So 24th of March, you guys should, there you go, sign up here in case you want to come. You'll receive an RSVP if you're in, but It'll be an interesting one. It's planned pretty well. You'll have free food also, and a bunch of smart people other than me, and most importantly, a comedian is coming, or might come. Like there's no promises there, but yeah, you should register here in case you want to come to the meetup. That's happening 24th of March, I think. So like in like 20 days or so. Cool. Let's get into it. The winner was contributing to the JS library. तो ये सबको पता तो है ना कि ये क्या है? Or do you guys want me to give context? वैसे you can go to the recent video, you'll understand. But Google Gemini. Do you guys know what this repo is? Let's do another poll. Do you guys already know what the... Do you understand what this is? Yes and no. Do you guys understand what this repository does? Please tell me yes. It's a client repo for connecting to, it's an SDK. It's a JavaScript SDK for connecting to the Gemini LLM. If you ever want to send normal requests, streaming requests, batch requests, voice to text, text to voice, whatever Gemini supports, actually a subset of what Gemini supports, you can use this JavaScript SDK for. But I say subset because I saw an issue when I was going through the video where a bunch of APIs aren't yet implemented in this SDK. That might be a good thing for us to implement. That's probably a heavy thing. By heavy, I mean if an engineer from their company also works there, it'll take them a week or two. So if you can do that, that's like a pretty solid contribution. But do you guys understand? Okay, you guys don't. Solid people, yes. Most people know. So very simple. If you ever want to interact with Gemini for an application of yours, then you use this specific Node.js SDK. You don't have to. You can directly Gemini API. You can directly send HTTP requests and look at the developer docs over here. Let me go to API documentation. So you don't necessarily have to use the JavaScript SDK. You can directly send HTTP requests. You can use the Node.js SDK. You can use the Python SDK. The one thing that we might be doing today is a few of these APIs. For example, let me see which one. I forgot, totally forgot. Text generation, code execution has a Node.js, the Node.js SDK supports it. Structured output, Node.js SDK supports it. Which one does the Node.js? Fine tuning. I think that was the one. Fine tuning tutorial. As you can see, Python and REST are supported, which means if you want to fine tune Gemini on top of your data, you can use REST, you can use Python, you cannot use Node.js, and you'll find an issue for that here. Fine tuning. Could have sworn, there you go. Request contains an argument. That's not it. Is this done already? Add support for fine-tuning API. This was created on November 5th, 2024. So it's been a few months. I think it's safe for us to pick this up. No one else is really working on it. Oh, well, someone started an hour ago. So while you're competing against me, sir. So as you can tell, this specific fine-tuning API is available in Python and REST, not available for JavaScript. So our goal is going to be adding this, like integrating this. It won't be easy for sure. Most probably because हमें उनका code structure ना तो पता है. We don't know their code structure. Also, there's probably some level of code structure they want to enforce. So unless I actually work there or an engineer works there, they have the privilege of deciding the code structure files. I don't. I can just assume and try to make as clean code as possible. But in the end, it depends on them. ठीक है जी. So this is one issue. Let me show you the other issues that I saw this morning. Some of them are interesting, but some of them might not lead anywhere, which is something that always happens in open source. What was the other one that I liked? Generate content. Nah, that was a question. Nope. Okay, this is a question, but if they don't support image generation, yeah, it's available. There you go. So that's another one. They don't support image generation APIs. So if you go to their docs and search for image generation, you will see there is a Python example. There is no Node.js example. What does that tell you? They don't have, the Node.js SDK doesn't yet support this API. That's mostly because Python is preferred language. Python is the first one to implement anything. JavaScript is the secondary person here because AI people don't use JavaScript, which is why this is an ignored library generally, and it'll fall behind a lot. This was created last month. No one yet added this API. So we can add either one of these. I think the code will be pretty similar. So let me open both the issues that we might be targeting today. Where's the other one? That was by Logan. And then there is a third one that I remember, which would be exploratory. By exploratory, I mean it might happen. We might not be able to fix it. That was this one. And we can actually go back and see if there's more. Actually, let's just stick to what we have and start contributing. So there are 3 issues that I think we can contribute to: image generation SDK, fine-tuning SDK, and this slightly exploratory issue that even I'm unsure what the issue is. I can just assume and then I'll have to Google a bunch of things to figure out what it is. So kaun sa karna hai? See, 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 are very similar. Whatever you guys do, we can explore that. Last poll for today. Oh, someone. When you get married, Tanmay, this might be your last day at Super 30, sir. Tanmay is from Super 30, the most fun guy, but also slightly idiotic from time to time. Last day at Super 30, so you're not. I'm kidding. All right. Poll for today is which issue to pick. Whatever you think will teach you the most. Issue number 1, issue number 2, and issue number 3. Take your time and pick one of these. Why is that's too long? God damn it. Add image gen API, add fine tuning API, exploratory bug. Which one of these 3 do you guys want to work on today? I don't know how many we'll be able to get through today, but let's at least aim for one. So which one of these issues do you guys want me to solve? Remember the Node.js guy, you were solving the issue. Remembering that Node.js stream guy when you were... That's so funny. Yeah, there's this guy in the third cohort, like cohort 3, who every week he's like, Node.js stream videos, which is my fault. I've not gotten the time to record that offline video. So when we were dealing with streams today, I remembered him. Question: what is the TLDR till now? No TLDR. We're thinking of fixing one of 3 issues, and I think we have a winner, which is image generation API. That's the simplest one, actually. But I guess it's a great beginner issue. If I do image generation API, someone can pick up fine tuning API. When I say someone, I mean just one person. Don't all create the same pull requests. Run away from this repository. This repository only has me and a few people, right? I am competing this year. I will apply to GSOC. So don't apply. I mean, I won't, but you get the idea. Don't apply here. Apply to a different one. Cool. The answer is the image generation API. So yeah, someone is assigned this, which means the maintainers do want this integrated. There are no methods available for image generation in this SDK. It would be great to have them same as the Python SDK. Cool. No maintainer has commented anything that would have helped us. So this is going to be fairly exploratory. Clone the repo. I already have it. Generative AI.js. I'm giving guys a minute to do it if you want to follow along. But let me go back to the main branch. Let me pull the latest and let me make sure I don't have anything stashed. Cool. So I have this repository locally. Just go through their contributions guideline if you want to set it up just like me. So go to code, go to contributing over here. There are a bunch of steps, which is pretty standard. Just clone the repo, go to the repo, npm install. If it fails, delete package lock .json and yeah, that's it. Just delete package. If this fails, delete package lock, delete node modules, and try again. That worked for me. Then build, test, run, whatever. We'll be writing tests to test the API, which actually I'm intrigued. I don't know how they're testing the API. I'm sure they're not talking to an LLM during testing. So there's some level of mocking that's happening. Again, something we have to figure out. Let's try to go through the code base. So most of the code, let's just explore it here. It's just easier to read things here. Source and index.ts. So again, I've spent some time here, so this might be easier for me than might be a little overwhelming. So let me try to break it down. This is an SDK. SDK stands for Software Development Kit, which basically means it's a library that other people can use. Generally, the way to use this specific library is import the library, initialize a new instance of GenAI, which basically means the library exports a single thing called Google Generative AI. You get an instance of it, you specify what model you want to interact with, and then you send, whatever you want to. For example, you might want to generate content based on some prompt and some image. Prompt might be, does this look like store bought or homemade? And the image is the actual image that you want to send along. And then you log the response. So if you've ever tried interacting with Claude, OpenAI, or Gemini, you use some sort of this SDK. If you're creating a Python application, you'll use Python SDK. If you're creating a Node.js application, you'll use the Node.js SDK. If you are writing a Rust application, what will you do in that case? They don't have an official Rust client. You create one. Not the worst idea in the world for you to create a Rust client, I don't know, Ruby on Rails client, an Elixir client, a Golang client, because that might be another good path to, they will eventually want SDKs in all languages. So if you can actually stay up to date with the Python SDK in a new language, if you can officially create that specific project, good thing to do. We are not doing that. We are going to stick to the Node.js SDK. They support a few things. For example, they have a function called generate content. What we want to introduce is a function called generate image. It's as simple as that. So let's look at where the generate content function exists. So source/index.ts entry point file exports everything from types, which we don't care about, everything from errors we don't care about, everything from GenAI, which is the first sort of major entry point to this application, this genai.ts file. And if you look at it, it exports a class called Google Generative AI. I totally get why this is a difficult issue. Language models are different from image models. So yeah, that's the first issue for today. Let me just take you to the code base so that I'll talk through a problem that I suddenly thought of. This class has a function called getGenerative_model, which returns an instance for the provided model name. So if you give it whatever their model names are, I forgot, but for OpenAI, it would be, 03, 04. For Claude, it would be 3.5, Sonnet 3.7. For these guys, it would be their model. You give it a name in this model params input. It returns you an instance of this another class called generative model. So if you look at generative model, it comes from models/generative model. So if you go to source, models, generative model, this is probably where we need to introduce a new file called ImageModel. Let's open generative model. This guy exports this class called generative model, which has a few functions: generate content, to, given a prompt, return the text, generate content stream, given a prompt, stream back the response. What else? Start chat to have a slightly longer chat with the specific, LLM. Count tokens. What does this guy do? Count the tokens in the provided request. Oh, it does take request as an input. That makes sense. So on and so forth. Like a bunch of LLM, or by LLM I mean text model specific functions. I do assume. Let's look at the Python SDK and see how they've done it. But my assumption right now is we have to introduce a new file here called ImageModel.ts where we'll be writing our image code. Let's explore the SDK one more time. Sorry, the docs one more time. So Gemini API. Explore models, API documentation, models, vision, long context. Where is image generation? There you go. So if you look at their image generation SDK let's start with, simple HTTP. Where did it go? Okay, it's here only. I don't see an HTTP request here. So okay, let's just deal with their Python one. GenAI.client in the Python SDK, client.models.generate images. Model name equal to this thing. So yeah, that's not great. What I was hoping was, seems like it's, basically they expect us to make change here in generative model.ts and not create a new file index ImageModel.ts. Let's confirm that. Let's look at their text generation Python SDK. And if you look at their text generation Python SDK, it looks something, it it looks the same basically. Client.models.generate content with model. This guy looks like client.models.generate images with model. So that probably means we can't really change the client. I mean, we probably can. I don't know. It really depends on us. वैसे मतलब it's sort of up in the air. But based on what I'm seeing right now, they probably expect us to edit the generative model.ts file and introduce a new function here called create images. We should think about this because we don't want to blindly code and then the contribution doesn't get accepted, because this is a sensitive issue. By sensitive I mean it introduces something new, so should not blindly start to code. I'm thinking which one of these paths we should take. Let's try to explore the Python code and see how they handle our images. Is the generate images function in the same file or the same class as generate content function? I'm assuming yes, but let's confirm. So if you go to generative AI Python and search for, let's search for generate images. Nothing great here. Okay, let's search for generate content. Yeah, there you go. So Google generative AI generative models.py. I'm assuming this is the corresponding file here is generative model.ts. And if you look at generative model.py, it has a generate underscore text content function. It has a function called generate content. Does it have a function called generate images? It doesn't. So that tells you something. Where does the generate image function exist? Where does the generate images function exist? And maybe it doesn't exist here. It exists. They have a third library where it might exist. Let's see. Where is this imported from? Client and models.generate images. GenAI.client. Is this client the same? From Google Gen import. From Google import GenAI. Okay, it looks the same. Client.models.generate images. Yeah, generative models. Models.py. Get model. Model, get base model. Queued model. List models. Nothing related to images here. In the worst case, we'll start a Python project locally and explore the code base from there. Should we do that? Probably. I'll spend another 2 minutes here. If I'm not able to find this here, we'll clone the repo and go from there. How come they don't have tests for generate images here? Or GitHub search is just being weird. So let's clone the repo. Let's clone the Python repo locally and see how they've done it here before we even touch the JS repo. Clone the repo, go to cursor, add this repo to the workspace file, add new folder to the workspace, paste it, and now search for generate underscore image. And indeed, it only exists in a readme doc. Okay, the last thing we need to try now is like try this locally in Python. So create a new folder called ImageGen. mkdir. I already have a folder called ImageGen. So ImageGen2, ImageGen2 pip. How do you create a virtual environment here? Pip or when python -m env and /env/bin/activate permission device source /, that's fine, and bin activate and pip installs an AI. While this is happening, I'm just trying to, does it already know this? Does anyone already know why Salesforce developer? This is too hard. A lot of people are saying explain this more. Okay, let me try to explain this more. You are a developer. This is the first time you want to create an application like this, bolt.new, or you want to create a chat with a PDF like website, or you want to create a chat with a video like website. There are multiple ways to talk to an LLM. You can talk to an LLM from this text interface. But you can also talk to an LLM from a backend. For example, if you have a Node.js backend, your Node.js backend can talk to the LLM, get a response back. When your Node.js backend wants to talk to an LLM, it can use this Node.js SDK of Gemini, by which I mean, all you have to do is import Google Generative AI from @Google/Generative AI, initialize a new variable, or whatever, an instance of Google Generative AI, get the respective model that you want to talk to. You might want to talk to whatever 1.5 flash, 2.0 flash, so on and so forth. Give it a prompt, and whatever result you want will come in this variable. Ye to simple hai. Do you understand this? A Node.js backend can also talk to an LLM. It's not just a chat interface that you can interact to an LLM with. Let me quickly show you. If you ever have a Node.js backend, projects mkdir Node.js backend cd Node.js backend npm init-y index dot. Let me create a bun project, cd Node.js backend rm package.json bun init. The reason I'm using bun is because it just integrates directly with TypeScript, so I don't have to write the TypeScript bootstrapping code, paste it over here, and only thing I have to do is replace my Gemini key here. So let me get my Gemini key from Gemini API key. Open this, go to AI Studio, API, get API key, create an API key, random project, create a new API key, copy it, paste it. And if I run bun index.ts now, first I have to do a bun add at Google/generative AI. And after I've done that, I can do a bun index.ts. I asked Gemini for something and it responded back with, wait for it, taking some time. It responded back with some very big text that says, AI is a broad field encompassing something, something, something. That's what I asked it, right? What was the code that I wrote? If you remember, I wrote this code. Const gen AI equal to new gen AI, get a model from it, give it a prompt, explain how AI works. If I replace this prompt with something, what is 2 plus 2, and run it again, it returns a response of 2 plus 2 is 4. So the thing that we're learning today or contributing today is this library that various developers might use to integrate their applications with Gemini is what we're contributing to today. This specific library is what we're contributing to. Ab samajh aa gaya? Simple enough. Iska code base, if you look at it, just exports one thing, this Google Generative AI class. You create an instance from it, you give it your API key, you select a model, and you send the prompt to the model, get a response, and log it. So this is one of many ways people can use it. The problem is there is no function that exists right now that, let's say you do this. const result equal to await model dot generate image, and whatever prompt you want to give, could be give me a beautiful scene in front of the Antarctic, and it should return it to you. This does not exist right now. We need to introduce this generate image function. We don't have to introduce the API. We don't have to create the model. We just have to write a Node.js function that hits the model, gets a response, shows it to the user. Simple now. ये समझ आ गया करना क्या है? We are supposed to introduce this generate image function. The problem is I can write it very quickly and हो जाएगा. But we need to figure out how they've done it in Python. That's a good thing for us to figure out before we start to write the code. Otherwise, we'll fill a very big file, and then what might happen is they don't like it, and they probably won't like it if you're just putting more code in a single file. We might have to put in a different file, which is why I was trying to figure out. The Python SDK already has it. The Python SDK already has the image generation API call. You can call it by calling client.models.generate images and give it, a prompt over here. So I'm trying to figure out how the Python SDK has done it. I'll use the same sort of method. So let's try this out. What I did in my window over here is I initialized a fresh Python project. File, add folder to workspace, image gen2. And here I did something you don't have to do this. It's a good thing to do is create a virtual environment. How did I create a virtual environment? I went to, let me create a new terminal here for image gen2. In this folder, I first ran the command pip when module, I forgot the command, pip when python -m when, which means run this specific module called virtual environment and create a virtual environment in this env folder. Something you should always do for a new Python project. You can still get away without it. It's a good thing to do. What is a virtual environment? It is a place where all of your dependencies are stored so that your global dependencies don't get polluted. Global dependencies क्या होती है? मतलब if you do a pip install whatever, pip install fast API, it will install in your global scope or a global single place. That's bad. Creating a virtual environment lets you install everything over here. That's why you create a virtual environment whenever you're creating a Python project. So I created the virtual environment by running this. Then I activated the virtual environment by calling /n/bin/activate. Sorry, sourcing it. And now if you see this prefix over here, that means you're good to go. That means your virtual environment has been activated. Now you can run whatever commands you want, which in our case is pip install GenAI. If I run this specific module is already installed. If I open a main.py and copy the code that these guys gave, which is this code right here, paste it here and try to run it. Of course, I need to replace Gemini API key with my own Gemini API key. So let me quickly grab that from here, paste it here and run it. Python main.py pip install Google, Python main.py pip install module not found. From Google import GenAI. I did the wrong pip install. But it might be something else. So pip Google I need some module, most probably Google Generative AI. That's the one. So pip install Google Generative AI. We'll wait for it to install. What is the command that I ran? What is the command that you needed to run? Pip install Google/generative AI. After I do this and I try to do a Python, I still don't have a few repositories, sorry, a few modules. Cannot import GenAI from Google unknown location. Okay, let's open this as the only folder. That way we'll get IntelliSense over here. Main.py. From Google, I don't see Google here. From Google.GenAI. Source. From Google.Generative AI. From Google.GenAI. This is a different one. My bad. Google.GenAI. There you go. So pip install Google/GenAI is what we needed. Now let's try that one more time. Python main.py, probably need a few other external dependencies. Nope, spoke too soon. Yep, did not speak too soon. So pil python, where does this exist? Python imaging library, that looks right. So pip install pillow and then run python main.py and hopefully we see images now. It's taking time, which is good. It means it's generating fuzzy bunnies in my kitchen, but it failed. Why did it fail? Unauthorized. Image generation API key Google image and API generate 002. Yeah, there you go. How do I get the API key here though? Doesn't matter. In the event, I don't want to generate images. I just wanted to see where is this function defined? What library has the generate images function? So I can create a similar one in the Node.js SDK. So generate images, if I hover over it and click, open this, comes in a models.py file in Google Gen AI models.py. Google Gen AI models.py has a generate images function. It doesn't have a generate images function. So what am I missing? Where is this module defined? Where does this come from? All right, let's see. Google Gen AI. Most probably, there's a third SDK. Let me show you. This, I think, the one that we're seeing right now is what's called the unified SDK. This is new. They have an older one, which most probably is where the image generation SDK exists. So we can search for it here. Yeah, that's probably it. The one that we installed before. If you remember, a while back we did pip install Google Generative AI. That is this. And then we also did pip install Google Gen AI. We need to find where that is. That's a different package altogether. So that means, but then yahan pe in their API docs, if you look at them, text generation, Python, it is different. Or is it? From Google import Gen AI. And what are we doing here? No, it looks the same. So is this not the latest Python SDK, the one that we're looking at? This is the latest one, almost for sure. But their docs seem to suggest the old one. I've seen the old one also. Let me see if I can find it. Python SDK, Google Gemini. So there is this one that we just saw. And then there is another one. This may or may not be it. This most probably is it. Models.py generate underscore image. Yep, that's the one. So this Python Gen AI package, well, it seems like this is the more updated one. Okay. So either way, if you look at this one, does it have generate underscore content? It does have generate content stream, and generate images in the same row file. Now here is my worry. Do they have another TypeScript SDK I don't know about? Gemini type or JavaScript SDK, GitHub. Looks like a personal project. This one most probably is a personal project, I would assume. This one is the repository. I think they only have a single JS SDK, but multiple Python SDKs. I think this is in an effort they're trying to create something called the unified SDK. So that doesn't help at all. We still don't know. Should we create a new folder in models called ImageModels.ts, or should we just add another function here called generate images? Most probably, it just makes sense to add another function here called generate images, and go from there. So let's do that. What does the constructor look like here? Config. Let's open this project again in cursor. Open recent generative AI.js. Let's search for generative model.ts, and here we have a generative model class, which is very similar to the generative. What is the class called here? This one's called models. Ours is called generative model. This one has generate content and generate images. Ours only has generate content right now. So let's just go with it. Let's add an async function called generate images, which is the place where we have to write all of our code. So now we have to implement the inputs, do the thing, talk to the image model, and then return the output. Do we understand what's happening here? Simple enough. Do we understand the approach that I'm taking over here? Are we good to go, guys? Shall we proceed in? What are you guys talking about? Add functions. Oh, does anyone here preparing for GSOC? Everyone's good in their own way. Goofy guy, I am confused. Okay, let's start. The generate images function. Let's look at the generate content function. It takes a input which looks like this. Let's take a similar input. What does generate content request look like? Let's look at the generate images function here. Contents, content type, generate images. Wrong one. Generative models. No, let's close this library. Close this one. That's the one. That's JavaScript. Where is the Python SDK? Did I close it now? There you go. So it takes the model as the input, as the prompt as the input. Nothing too fancy. So the prompt is a string. Let's go back here. Request is a string, or could be a string array. If the user wants multiple images, what is part here? Generate images over here just expects a prompt. Let's look at its usage. Is prompt. So let's call the first argument prompt, which is a string. Model we already have, and then a config. So just like this, there are request options here. Let's add another field here called request options, which will be what is single request options here? Signal, abort signal, an object that may be used to abort asynchronous requests. Makes sense. You can pass in a signal if you want to cancel the request in the middle. But you also need config. So where should we add the config? Seems like it's passed in the constructor over here. This thing, model params or generation config, which looks like this. Let's go to the Python docs over, where was it? Here. Generate images is simpler, but there you go. Generate images config. Let's look at what it looks like. Most probably we'll have a separate class only from what I'm smelling right now. I feel like we need a different class. Generate config or dictionary, because like this generative model class that we already have has a generation config, which is very specific to text models. Everything that you see over here is very specific to text models. And for that reason, it might make sense to have a separate class called generative image models, or image models, where we have the config specific to image models. All right, what does this type look like? It is a union of generate images config which looks like this. HTTP options, if you want to override the default HTTP options, things like headers, cloud storage URL to, wow, they have a lot of things. This will be really hard. Output GCS URI. I guess that's fine. We just need to forward it to the API. Negative prompt, number of images, aspect ratio, guidance scale seed, person generation, allows generation of people by the model. Yeah, this is very specific to the text, sorry, the image model. So I would not spend, like the generation config here is very specific to a text model, and the generation config here, the image generation config is very different. So let's not do that. Let's create a separate class called image generative models.ts, add different types over there, and expect the user to, clearly specify up front whenever they are generating, or whenever they're using the JavaScript SDK, let them specify up front whether they want to use, I mean, they can call get generative image model in case they want an image model, and in case they want, a text model, they can use get generative model. So, ये समझ आ रहा है? There are two things you can do over here. You can either shove everything inside the same model.ts class. We're not doing that. Why are we not doing that? Because unfortunately, there is a very big difference in the Python SDK and the JavaScript SDK. In the JavaScript SDK, you first create the model instance where you're passing in all the configs. If you look at the constructor of model.ts, generative model.ts, it expects the model parameters over here, get generative model. Yeah, which, wait, where is the request config? Could have sworn I saw that here. Generation config, model params.generation config. So this base params generation config. So this generation config is initialized when you are creating the constructor and not when you're sending the final call, which is different from what happens in the Python SDK. In the Python SDK, समझ आ रही है ये चीज़? In the Python SDK, you can pass the config here. So unfortunately, the JavaScript SDK specifies the config when you are generating the model. So we'll have to create a new model. ये चीज़ समझ आ रहा है? New model.ts file, image model.ts file. Shall we start to write that code? Do we understand what I'm saying right now? या सब ऊपर से जा रहा है, guys? Oh, someone said, I feel like Google just wants free labor to fix Gemini APIs. I mean, they're still paying though, right? GSOC is paid and Google sponsors everyone, including themselves. So wouldn't think that was true. I don't think that is true. Super Labs Hackathon submissions, or sorry, the results will come out tonight. I'm yet to review the projects. Anything we understand, you don't understand already, cool. समझ आ रहा है? सब ऊपर से जा रहा है. How to replace? Alrighty. So let's move on. Now what I'm doing is a bunch of extra files, which depends on the Google maintainers. They may not want such bigger change, so it's just a gamble from this point. Ideally, I should talk to them and ask them, okay, do you like this approach? Do you not like this approach? There might already be discussions around this, so let's quickly see if that's the case, because we can spend some time building this, and that would be some effort. We'll have to look at their Python SDK, look at their HTTP docs, and figure out kya inputs they have, then have the same inputs on our side. It's some effort, but effort we are willing to do in case it gets merged. So I just want to make sure, okay, have they had a discussion about this before? And if yes, then we sending images. No, that's different. Then we should just read through it once. This is the only issue that I found right now. Response, 332. What does this do? This can just reference the same issue. Yes, only with the Python HTTP REST API. Yeah, with the paid tier only. For free tier, it's still private. I don't think that's true. Or maybe that is true. Maybe that's why we weren't able to generate the images. That makes sense. That's why we got the unauthorized error. Do you remember when we were trying to generate the images from the Python SDK, we got an unauthorized error? That's because I'm not on the paid plan, and this only works for people who are on the paid plan. Okay. I will escalate this with the internal team. Thanks. So that probably means we are good to go. Who's GM Keshri? I don't know, seems like an empty, but it seems like this guy's, well, he's assigned the issue. So I'm assuming he knows we could talk to him. We should talk to him before we proceed. But now that we've started, we can't really wait to talk to someone. So let's try to create it. And then if it doesn't get merged, it doesn't get merged. All right. Models, let's introduce a new class called ImageModels.ts. And class image model. Does this guy extend something? Does go generative model.ts extend something? It doesn't. Export class image model constructor. Now what do we take as the input? API key, same as this guy. Model params and request options. Params passed to get generative model or this thing. Timeout API version, that makes sense. We'll add another thing here now, or get image model, which is a function that we're going to introduce. So we're going to have request options as an input in our class as well. If you want to override whatever, the timeout before the request times out, things like these. All right. So the big thing is here model params, which will be different for image models and text models. So this is where we have to spend some time now. I'm going to name it image model params. And this is what we have to define. Now the question is, do we define it in request.ts? And I think the answer is yes. I don't think we need to create another folder for it. So export interface image model params extends base parameters. What are base parameters? Safety settings and generation config. Now again, we'll have to see, do they even make sense for image models? Generation config, yeah, they don't make sense for image models. So we do not want to extend base params. Where all is this used already? Model parameters, generate content request, start chat parameters. Yeah, makes sense. So we can actually introduce a base image params if need be, but let's not go there, Abhikle. Model string is the thing that we need at the very least. And then let's go through the Python SDK and see what else do they have in the config. Their image generation config has HTTP options, which we've already added in request options over here, or more technically over here. Is this imported from the right place? Yeah. Import this as well. Image generation params, which now include output GCS URI, which means, where in Google Cloud Storage do you want to store it? Output GCS URI, negative prompt, number of images. I think that's fine. We can have number of images here. We can define it in the config. And if you remember, if you saw a while back, the base parameters were used by not just the config, the model params. It was also used by, generate content requests. So you can always override them basically. So in that case, we should also introduce export interface base params or base image params, where I don't know what all should be here, but output GCS URI, that's fine. Negative prompt should probably not be here. I think it should be here only. And I think all of these should be optional. Yeah, I think all of these should be optional. Model is the only thing that should be required. This actually can move here. This is the arguments of the final API call. This is the arguments of when you're creating the model. This guy extends this guy. So you can specify these, but these can also go in the final request. All right. Number of images. So number of images, which again is an optional. Almost everything is optional here. Aspect ratio, optional of string, guidance scale, which is optional of number, seed safety filter level. So seed, which is a, where is it? Optional of int. So it is an int though. Is there an easy way to specify? And let's not go there. Might be a good thing to add eventually. Okay, restricted to only integers and not floats. Safety filter level, which is a more complicated class. This looks like an enum. Block low and above, block above and medium, block low and high, block none. You control the safety filters for objectionable content. Makes sense. This is an enum, which, like, TypeScript does have enums. We just need to make sure they map to the same things, which I think would happen. So enum, what's this called? Safety filter level. Now I have a feeling these should all be in a separate file called imagerequests.ts, because this is bloating this file too much. Block low and above, block medium and above, block high only, block none. These are the 4 values that you can provide. Again, I think this should be optional. Safety filter level. All right, what else? ये था ना? Config, yep, that looks good. Person generation, which is another, is this in enum? Yeah. So enum person generation could be one of 3 things. What else? Again, this is optional. Include safety attributes. Which is a Boolean, optional. Include responsible AI filter reason of the image is filtered out in the response. Include RAI reason Boolean language of the text in the prompt. Okay. Which again probably is an enum, which doesn't have Hindi right now. Oh, it does have Hindi, surprising. Enum image prompt language. All right, that's done. Language would be image prompt language. What else? God damn it, I searched for space. Come on. Okay, the tab sort of crashed on me. It's not even closing. Reopen. There you go. What else is left? This is going to be your GSOC, guys, by the way. Yeah, this is what you're going to do if you join them. Like, go through a bunch of their Python code and, you know, mimic it. Output mime type in JavaScript or TypeScript. Output compression quality. Add watermark. Like, what watermark though? And enhance prompt. Probably just, you know, makes it a little, you give it a prompt that says create an image, it creates a very long, you know, give me a cat that has this many for this color, so on and so forth, makes it a little more. Prompt rewriting is basically, humans are dumb, something like this. If I go to ideogram and try to generate an image, for example, I just generated this image of the live starting soon. I gave it this prompt, but the magic prompt is much longer. It looks something like this. So when I set this to true, it'll have a magic prompt and it'll look much prettier. All right, image prompts extends base prompts. Now the question is, what exists in base amongst these? I would assume everything other than the model can go here. What did this guy have? Model params, tools. Yeah, these are all text generation tools, so not worried about them. What else? Tools key configs probably related to that. System instruction. Do you have system instructions in image models? I don't know. Probably not. And cached content is again related to text models and not image. All right, that looks decent. Image params. Go back to, where was it? Image class. What was it called? Models slash model.ts. Sorry, generate image.ts. So this is where, yeah, it already has that. Looks good. And then request options, cool. Okay, what's happening here? Just setting those variables, nothing else. So model string, and this guy has generation config. We have everything here in model params, which is all of this. So I would simply say, yeah, that's fine. Just model params. This dot model equal to this, these dot model params equal to this, request options. Probably need to store them as well. Where did this guy store the request options? In a private variable. So if you add private over here, it automatically gets stored as an argument here, or whatever attribute over here. So we have all three of these. Where do they use it? Whenever they're generating model request options, so user can re-specify them. Makes sense. Is that the same thing that's in the constructor? No, this is request options, and the other one is wait, what function is this? Generate model. We don't need that anymore. And यहाँ पे single request options, which is only the signal. All right, makes sense. Cool. This only has a signal then. No, this has everything. The function will only have the signal. All right, generate images. What do you take as an input, sir? Let's not go there here. It will take the prompt and it will retake the request. I would call it a config, which would be of type this. So base image parameters. And what else? Request options, which this time will be same as the other one, single request options. And now we don't want to do that. Let's see how do we interact with normal text models here. There's another function called generate content and generate content.ts. So we'll introduce another method called generate image.ts. So methods generate image.ts. Let's look at generate content. It just has a bunch of functions. The first one will probably look very similar in ours and theirs, which is make model request. Task.generate content, task.stream generate content, count tokens, embed tokens, generate images is most probably what we need. But again, the question remains the same. Do we do, I mean, that's fine, we can do this. Do we have another image task is what I was saying, but let's not do that. Generate images equal to generate images. Is that what the API has over here? Let's look at the HTTP docs. There are no HTTP docs. How is that possible? Image generation. Yeah, we need to see the rest for this. The REST API calls that happen under the hood for this. So image gen REST API. Let's see. Only Python APIs. How do I convert this to HTTP? And why does it not already have HTTP REST? Go back to image gen and hope for some magic. Magic doesn't appear. Oh God, will we have to go through their code base? All right. GenAI models.ts. Oh, there you go. API client. Load auth HTTP base API client. What's the GenAI models.py? Search for generate underscore images. And yahan pe, if you look at params, path glue path thing, HTTP option thing, HTTP options, API client.vertex AI else from mldev self dot underscore API underscore client response dictionary. Wait for it. Base API client from underscore. What function is this? This one's generate content. It looks like they're calling the same thing, response dictionary. Post path. Yeah, that looks fine. What is path again? Stream generate content. Stream generate content. And what does it look like for generate images? Images. It looks like, where is the path? Request URL dictionary models colon predict dot format. Path equal to this. Model colon predict dot format map request URL dictionary. Yeah, the endpoint looks different, unless I'm wrong here. Generate images takes this as an input, and if self dot even before that, parameter model equal to this thing, generate image parameters. If request URL dictionary predict request dictionary dot get query HTTP options. इतना सन्नाटा क्यों है भाई? Let's go back up to generate content. Stream is also fine. Model colon stream generate content. Is the path. Is that the path over here as well? Gemini generate content. I have it in Postman as well. Model slash sorry colon generate content. So it seems like it's predict for images, probably because that's the first API that they introduced. So it's colon predict, and try to copy the body from here. Model is this one. Predict question key equal to something, and inputs are hard to tell, but at the very least there would be hopefully prompt cup on the side of a table. This will fail because I don't have Gemini paid, but yeah, invalid payload received prompt, and that's fine. We'll have to see how, like, what do we send to the image generation API. Gemini, I just need to see their REST API endpoints. Yeah, no wonder they're coming to GSOC with fix the API documentation sort of things. It was like a little hard to figure out their API right now. Now there's just a bunch of examples. Is that all that they have for documentation? That is not great, because then we'll have to just understand what's happening here in the generate images function, and do something similar on our side, which is fine. I was just hoping it would have been easier if they had this. Basically, parameter model equal to types dot generate image parameters given this model, this thing, and this thing. Request URL dictionary equal to a dictionary from a string to a string. PI client dot vertex AI request dictionary equal to generate for vertex. Let's go to the else over here. Request dictionary parameter model. Model predict dot format map dictionary. That probably is all the query parameters, I would assume. Query parameters is no, these are query parameters. So what is that? Path parameters. Dot format map dictionary. Yeah, we'll have to add a bunch of logs here to figure this out. Let's do that. We've already done that, thankfully. So let's go to add folder to workspace, search for the other one, which was the Python project we just saw. Pause the JavaScript project for a bit. Go to the Python project, which is this one right here. Let's put a few logs in a few places to understand this better. Generate images. This is the function. Let's start from the top. Print parameter model. Print vertex AI. Else print mldev. And by the end, like right before we send the request, where are we sending the request? Response dictionary. There you go. Print, like the only thing I really want to see is the path, request dictionary, HTTP options. So let's try that. There you go. The path is this: model equal to this thing, prompt equal to this thing, config equal to path, which is a string. Okay, I need to put a log here. Print. This is most probably the path. I think everything else is just random. Models slash this thing colon predict. Model slash this thing colon predict, and then request dictionary. That's probably the arguments that we have to send. That looks very weird if true, but chalo, we'll see. Let's replace all of these with double quotes, copy, paste, send. Why did I send it? Oh, still. Yeah, that's what. But maybe, just maybe this is it. Instances, this thing, parameters, this thing, send. There you go. Perfect. So I think that's it. That's how you send a request. That's what we need to convert our request into as well. Parameters, sample count. Can I add the rest of the things here? So if I give it, I don't know, other things, sample count, aspect ratio, output quality, everything, and I run it again. What does it say? This failed with something else. Extra inputs are not permitted, so a lot of this is wrong, it seems. But what were the inputs? What was the config again? So output GCS URI, for example, and maybe negative prompt, and yeah, aspect ratio. Do they all go in the body? Do they go somewhere else? Which one of these is one thing? Sample count, remove it. All right. This is fine. What's the problem here? Not supported in Gemini API. Output GCS URI is not supported, then why do we have it? All right, there you go. So parameters, negative prompt, sample count, count, aspect ratio. Let's try to put these here. Just to make sure this is how we have to finally, send the request as well. Send it, and setting negative prompt is no longer supported. Is aspect ratio supported? Seems like the JS SDK is a little too much then. Like it has few things that the API actually doesn't support. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. If you understand what to forward in the request, so let's just go ahead and try to finish the V1. Let's reopen the JavaScript SDK. Let's go to generate image.ts. Similar to generate content.ts, we'll have a function called, well, that's fine. Generate image. API key is fine, model is fine. Parameters would be generate image request. Yeah, that's fine. Do we not have this already? Generate content request. We did add model parameters. A request sent to the generate content endpoint. For us, do we need a separate, model params and generate content request, or do they look the same? Let's see. For images, I mean, at least for now, we can have just the params. That's what we're expecting here anyways. Request options, single request, that's fine. Base image params is the only thing we're letting the user provide, and that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. The hell. Generate image request. No, we'll just stick with model params for now, or image model params. This might change if we want the user to not specify a few things, but for now, everything that's in image model params is something that the user can specify, so we don't need the request object. This might change though eventually. All right, the prompt and the prompt. Why does the prompt not exist here? That's probably because it doesn't need to. These are the configs. Cool. These are the parameters, and that's what we'll take as an input here. Image generation parameters and request options, single request options. That's fine. Returns not generate content result, but so where was this type? Probably in types.ts. Yeah. So export interface generate image result, which will return a response that looks like this. Where do you exist? Similar place. So export. We don't need any of this. There's no, you can't really stream back an image. You can only, you get the idea, right? The streaming makes sense in case of a generate content or generate text call. Doesn't make sense in case of a generate image call. So if you look at it here, what does this guy return? Return underscore value is generate image response. Yeah, so what do you look like, sir? Generate image response looks like this. Simple as that. Generated images, which is optional list of generated image. All right, so optional array of image, or let's call it generated image interface, generated image. What do you have, sir? Generated image looks like this. It has image, it has REI filtered reasons, it has enhanced prompt. All three are optional. So image, this is an array of, this is just a string. Image is a little complicated, sorry. What do you look like? That's a lot of things. GCS URI, the cloud storage URL, image bytes, the image byte data, MIME type, and loaded images, which is just none. All right. Is that so? That looks like a weird response. Where is the Python for generated image in generated response or generated images? Indeed, it does return you only the image bytes. That's weird, but that's fine, works for us. So GCS URI, string. What else? Image bytes, string, and mime type string. This will be an image array. And filtered reasons was, God, where did it go? Generated image response, image response generate upscale edit. What was it? अभी तो देखा था. Go back here. This returns, sorry, go back one more time. Generate underscore images. What does it return? It returns return value, which is generate image response. So there you go. Generated images, array of generated image, which is image, array filtered reasons, and that's an optional string array. And the third one, which is enhanced prompt, which is an optional string array optional string array. Cool. I guess for every string there's an enhanced prompt. Perfect. That looks good. These types are fine. And this result is what needs to come here. Yeah. Make model request. Hopefully this doesn't change. Make model request task dot generate images, which is going to be, if you remember, predict, which is very weird. That's why, you see legacy systems right there, guys. Their image generation model is called predict or whatever. The prefix that you have to add here is predict and not something more meaningful. API key stream is false, and parameters is JSON.stringify params. And then request options. Everything is fine here other than params. So params need to look like this. Instances prompt needs to get converted to that format. Right now, image model params look like this. Probably not what we need. Yeah, that's why you probably need the request object. So let's go back to generative model and see. Sorry. Generate model. That's the one. So how are you creating the request object? Generative model request options equal to, that's fine. This is not what I wanted. Yeah, there you go. Format generate content input, which exists in request helpers. Formatted request, which is nothing but generate content request. So if you look at generate content, where is my history? How was I generating content again? Was it content array? Yeah. All right. So we do need this. It extends base parameters, which is not going to work for us because, yeah, our base image parameters look like this, which is not something we directly give, but also, I mean, that's something that, yeah, it comes over here. So instances prompt comes over here. And here, if you look at it, contents is different. Yeah, we can't simply extend. Yeah, their SDKs for text and image are very different. It's like going to make the code not super pretty, but that's fine. I think this is the only way to do it. Like, it's not like someone else can come and make it prettier. It's just how the API is. Cool. So we need to do a generate content request के तरह का endpoint. This is in requests.ts. Okay. Yeah, the more I do this, the more I think we should have a separate, text requests and image requests. But for now, I'm going to stick to this. Generate image endpoint. Doesn't extend base parameters, has instances as an input. Yeah, don't ask why. Even I don't know. Prompt string, that's fine. And this guy has parameters, which look like base image params. And the one thing we have to do now is rename this to generate image request, and yahan pe in generate image.ts first create that, not here. Generate content has a, not even this. Where is the models / generate model? This guy right here. It calls this dot generate content with this dot API model, and then the whole thing right here. Yeah, that makes sense. So format content input. What are you doing, sir? We need a similar one. Export function format generate image input. Yeah, that's fine. This much is good enough. Yeah, what is this guy doing? If params not contents, then this thing, else array of strings, string instruction, then this thing, return this thing. All right, we're going to be a little strict over here, and just hope that the user gives this just the parameters with the generate image request, which looks like no. Return the generate image request, take the image model params as an input. And how does it take the acha? Makes sense. So we probably don't need such a fancy function then, do we? Yeah, we probably don't. So let's get rid of this. And let's go back here to generate image.ts. Or sorry, yeah, generate ImageModel.ts. And here we can simply do return generate image, not this, generate image, which hopefully comes from the right place, methods. Yeah, it comes from the methods. And yahan pe API secret is fine. Question is parameters. Parameters are going to be tricky. So yeah, so generate image request is what needs to come here. And now we need to pass the right arguments here in image models. Instances prompt, parameters param. Beautiful. Only thing is, it should look something like this. Comma, this dot. Actually, what should override what? What overrides what here? Formatted params comes later. So yeah, params here and dot dot dot. Model params here. Perfect. And request options. Cool, that should do it. Only thing is, generate images or generate image should be called images only. Returns image generation result, which is enhanced image generation response, which doesn't appear here. Why is that? ये कहाँ डाल दिया था भाई? Response.ts. Could have sworn I just saw this a while back here, but in a different file maybe. Yeah, so generate images here. Generate image result, image result, image result. Why does it take me to the different place? This is generate images result with a capital S. This is generate image result, which is something we don't need. And this needs to be replaced with image result. Doesn't exist only. Does exist though. Generate images result comes from response.ts, not types.ts. Is that the same place that we get it from in generate model? Generate, there is content result comes from types, dude. So that means this should also move there. This, and this. Why is this guy here then? Oh, it is in types only. Type/responses. Yeah, that makes sense. Then why does this not happen? No, it does happen. Generate images. Okay, that makes sense. Images result. Cool, that's done. Model request will look perfect only, like looks perfect only, nothing to change here. And for the first time, we don't really need to stream data. Not for the first time. Okay, what all do we have? We have generate content, we have chat sessions, chat session helpers, embed content. Let's see what this guy does. Oh, just made mock request. Yeah, that's perfect. That's what we need to do. Simple, easy peasy, nothing too complicated. So make model request. Return response.json. Perfect. Khatam, guys. I mean, we have to write tests for it, but I think this is done. Could I be wrong? I could. Most probably I am wrong. But maybe I'm right. So generate image.ts, ImageModel.ts. Arey bhai, and let's delete that. Alrighty, that was not too difficult. This guy's be written. Yeah, perfect. Yep. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Let's try it out. We will have to upgrade. I will have to upgrade my Gemini to actually be able to test it. But other than that, oh yeah, that's fine. Generate images, which is predict. Other than that, seems like this is done. Let me not PR it, but share a diff with you guys. Diff will be easier to read. So we can read through it together. कि क्या change हुआ, कैसे change हुआ, and then we'll dive deeper. अभी tests भी बचे हैं, but happy to take a pause over here and see how are you guys doing. Do you guys understand what's happening? या फिर banana gun, no one was referred. No one knew DeFi enough. Like these guys are also, they were not 250, they were 200K. These guys required, they're all HFT folks, so they required a lot of, we tried referring one person here. He didn't get there, but he might get a different one. Because the person who was connecting him to banana gun connected him to a different profile, which is for 100K. So we'll see. If that happens, then you'll see the video. Super 30 100K, whatever. First 100K selection from Super 30. ऐसे मैं thumbnail में खड़ा हूँ. Cool. How are you going to test it? Now, when I write tests, I'll just probably mock, and when I actually test, then I have to pay for it. Or can one of you? I mean, the problem is my card doesn't work. I have to ping my family for OTPs, which they've slept by now. 2 hours? That's pretty chill. If you're able to do this much in 2 hours. So let's see. I might ask one of you guys to give me a Gemini API key or a credit card. But I'll see if I can do it myself. All right. All right. How are you doing? कुछ समझ आया ऊपर से गया. Let me show you the diff. Maybe the diff helps you digest what has happened. Again, all of this is Python SDK inspired कि Python SDK में ऐसा होता है, because unfortunately their HTTP docs are nowhere to be seen. So we had to go through the Python docs and figure out अच्छा ये inputs हैं ये outputs हैं and predict a bunch of things. I'm hoping that changes eventually or with our change. I don't know. ठीक है जी, let's call it image gen. Let's push it and then we'll try to see the difference कि हमने क्या क्या चीज़ें ऐड करी हैं. I'm sure I'm missing something, so we'll try to fix that as well. ठीक है, this is the current diff. I'll paste it in chat. This is what the current diff looks like. Any plans for Super 30 other than college? So it won't be called Super 30 technically, but it will be like a 1 year return to school program kind of thing. So might happen, I don't know, up in the air. Depends on how big the campus is and how many people come to the uni. All right. What khul gaye? Yeah. Acha, now honestly tell me, how many of you would have been able to do it yourself? How many of you understand what is happening? Am I dumb in thinking that people are smart? Are people not smart? And was this too difficult? Do you understand things that have happened? Or even if you don't understand, can you do this yourself? And give pretty honest answers. Would you have been able to do the same thing in 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours? Yes or no? I pushed the code. I have pasted a link to it as well. Most people said no, but that, not majority, only 60% said no, which is great. Then why are you guys not contributing? Now I want to know the reason. Okay, there's such an obvious opportunity out there. Any reason you did not contribute to it? How was I the first one to be able to reach here? Tell me, because I guess that's what being high agency is. I guess a lot of people are smart. For example, in this case, 35% of the people are smart and would have been able to do this themselves. The question really I have for those 35% only is, okay, what's stopping you from contributing, doing these things yourselves? I don't even want to do this. I don't have the time for a job like this right now, right? If I did, I would have pursued this actively for 10 days and contributed actively for 10 days and then seen kahan baatein ja rahi hai. This is Google. I don't know how they hire. So maybe, this open source isn't a way to get into Google and you have to still go through the standard introvert. Yeah, you guys should just so how did I know about it? It's just a clock that tings every year, right? Okay, oh, GSOC is here. And 5 minutes after exploring the organizations, I saw this is there. So yeah, I would, don't feel like your code is stupid. Everyone's code is stupid. Their code also, if you read through it, now I think I know JavaScript enough to be able to ridicule other people's code base. So, there's different patterns of writing the same thing. The only good thing you should do is structure your code, which means a lot of files, oops, wherever you can add it, classes, tests, that's it. Baki everyone writes the code their own way. Don't want to work at Google. No. Yeah, but working at Google is different from working at Gemini or I'm saying DeepSeek, but Deepmind, different things. I don't think you'll get the same experience working at Google Bangalore versus this thing. So so yeah, I think there's different things. I would not compare the two. Alrighty, let's go through the diff. Let's see what I've added. There's nothing to compare. Did I forget to push? Oh, sorry, main branch. Sorry, what is the main branch there? That looks right. Did I forget to commit? Seems like I did. Oh, that's what you were saying when you said push. My bad. Sorry, brain wasn't braining. Added image gen API. Push. Refresh. All right, let's look at it now. Added a new file called generateimage.ts because that's again standard convention they have. I can shove it in the same file. This function is used in only one place. But they have a convention of a methods folder where they define all of these methods, which under the hood are sending HTTP requests. We are using the same make model request function, but we're changing what to call. Model to hi hai, jo image generation model hai, but what we're calling is not slash, colon text generate or text stream, we are calling colon predict, which surprisingly and funnily means generate an image. Colon predict over here does not mean predict text, it means create an image. That's probably, the convention they used shuru mein, and then some developer thought of it, and that's been going on for years. API key, parameters, and request options. So the question is, where do parameters come from? So if you go back to ImageModel.ts, we have defined a new class called ImageModel, where we have the model as an attribute and the model parameters as an attribute. This model parameters we'll get to eventually, but this is things like the negative prompt, the aspect ratio, the MIME type of the image, so on and so forth. Constructor, which is very similar to constructor of model.ts. That only difference is, of course, this guy takes image model parameters as an input, that takes text generation model, text model parameters as an input. And request options, which is basically, fetch config. What is your timeout? When should you close the request? How many retries should you have? Things like these. Then we set these attributes, models, and model parameters, these two right here. The third one also gets set. And then this also should change a little bit, I think. Yeah, I think this is wrong. 1 second, I'll explain it. Let me just fix it. Model. Is this the right one? Yeah. So if you look at it, what is request options? Yeah. Yeah. So go back here to image models.ts. Generative model request options equal to this, and rather than sending request options, send generative model request options. Let me push that. Request options to generative model request options push. All right, refresh. Yeah, coming back to the file, we added a ImageModels.ts file, which, as I said, has a constructor, has a generated images function, which is the function that the end user will call with the prompt and the config parameters that they want to send, the MIME type, the request object, so on and so, not request object, the MIME type, the aspect ratio, the negative prompt, things like these. Then we generate parameters, which is nothing but the original request config that the user put here and the request config they're specifying here. This gets more precedence over this. So if they specified something here and then overrode something here, this is what we will use. And the same thing is true for these fetch config. Whatever they specified here gets second priority. Whatever they specify here gets first priority. I guess these are just merging. This is a single request option, which is something else. So yeah, actually, sorry, I take my words back. This also overrides the original request options that the user sends in the constructor. And then finally, we call the generate images function that we just saw a while back. This function right here, which forwards the request to the, not the LLM, the image generation model, gets the response, returns a JSON. So request helpers.ts may have done something. I don't know why. I don't think I did this. Request helpers.ts. Yeah, don't need that. It's an unused import. Let me remove it. Added this generate image task. A bunch of types, which eventually might exist in type/image request.ts. For now, exist in type/request.ts. Mostly the things that the image model can take as inputs. There's an extra line here. Let me remove that. And yeah, that's it. Probably need some comments here as well. Generate images request. Yeah, this is the final request that we can send. So if you look at it, it looks like this: instances, prompt, something, and the parameters. So instances, prompt, something, and the parameters. And then lastly, a bunch of response types, whatever the LLM, not the LLM, image generation model returns us. Question is, how do you test it? Which is a beautiful question, for which, how do you upgrade Gemini? Gemini upgrade. somewhere here it was. There you go, pricing page. You must upgrade to the paid tier. Which one? Upgrade to paid tier. How do I do that? What the hell? Isn't this what PMs optimize for? How can I? There you go. Account settings, plan information, free of charge. There you go. How much is this? Pay as you go. How do I upgrade? God damn it. This will probably be the most difficult thing to set up. Set up billing. All right, I'll move this here. Link a billing account. My billing account. I think this already has credits, so I'm just hoping it works. Your account verification is overdue. I understand, and I will do this later. Where am I spending 250 rupees a month? I don't know, but let's try upgrading one more time. Go to billing, and how do I upgrade here? Probably don't want this here, but the question really is, how do I upgrade Gemini? Or am I already upgraded now? You can upgrade to a paid plan by enabling billing on your Google Cloud project associated to your API key. All right, so go to API keys here. Gemini API, and god damn it, how do I make it paid? Pricing, manage, credentials. Okay, I have a bunch of keys. How do I make them paid? How do I upgrade them? Whatever, no easy way. Maybe it's already happened. Wait, let's see. Send. Hold on, history. God damn it, I created that. Yeah, there you go. Send. Taking a long time. Am I a build user? Yeah, I got a 200. And I did get back all the image data. So perfect. My API keys are upgraded. You know what that means? I should delete all my API keys. Otherwise, you guys will exploit them. So let me quickly delete them. Delete API key. Delete. This is going to be a process. I have 5 API keys I need to delete, and then we can get right into it. God, why is that taking so long? Delete. 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 You guys can see if you want, like nothing. I'm sure your eyes are burning now. I'm just deleting all my API. Oh, there's a bulk delete option. Of course, I'm an idiot. Delete. All right, there we go. Cool. All the API keys are lost now. Let me confirm that by sending another request from Postman, and this should now be blocked. Yeah, there you go. Cool. So now let's try to use it. Let's try to write a test for it. The question really is, how do you write tests that don't really hit the LLM? We'll have to see. How have they written tests? Well, let's do a manual test first. We can always do this. How do we do a manual test? Hold on. I guess it's right test, which actually hits the LLM. So yeah, I'm going to create a new. So there's a generative model. So I'm going to create a image dash model dot test dot ts. Describe image model. It should generate an image. So yeah, let's start from the top. Const, I guess that's fine. Image model, new image model. I will paste my API key here. Please don't exploit it. And the model is going to be this one right here. Then I would do a image model dot generate images, and I'll send it cat in front of a train, and hopefully that does it. API key model params, which is image model param, which has model. Okay, so let's do that. Model and console.log images. What I'm going to do, I should probably increase the timeout of this test. Package.json is going to run when I run the test command. It should run my specific test. So source slash, where do you exist, sir? Source slash, I'm sharing my screen, right? Yeah. Where does this exist? Source slash model slash image model dot test dot ts. That looks right. We have a single test right now. Only thing is for me to replace my API key. So let me quickly do that. Let me delete this. Let me scroll down. Let me generate a new API key from, here. Let me select my project. And I'm going to hide it now. I don't want you guys to see it, because if you see it, you will exploit it and I'll have to pay for it. All right, generating the API key, copy the API key, paste it, and you guys already saw it, but I'm hoping you guys are good people and you won't exploit it. npm run test. Oh boy, a lot of things, a lot of type errors. This will take some time to fix. So let me revoke my API key quickly. Go to billing. Gemini API key, or just search for Gemini API. Manage credentials. Delete. Cool. This is done. Let's go back to image model. Look at the build errors. There are a bunch of build errors right now, and a bunch of lint errors. So I would assume that some of them can be fixed by npm run lint :fix. There is lint. There is test. There's no lint fix. Oh, there's format. There you go. So npm run format. Now let's try to run the tests again. And we'll see a bunch of errors still, but hopefully lesser. I don't think that's lesser. Remember, this thing of the import should be sorted alphabetically. Yeah, there are ways to fix this automatically rather than me having to going through each file. But so short on time here, I'm just doing it right now. So generate image and images. Get that right. Tasks should be $22. Okay, let me know PQRST. Well, that looks right. Task import should be sorted alphabetically. Is it not? MNO PQRST? Does capital hold more preference over small letters? That might be it. Let's try that. Yep, that's fixed. Line 38. Missing a semi. Missing a return type on the function. Do we need to? Okay. Promise of generate image, which is result. What else? Expected shorthand on 57. 57. This should have been one place where AI would have helped us a lot. Makes sense. Where though? Instances, this thing, parameters, this thing. So let's come back to this one. Array type is forbidden for non-simple arrays. Use array of t instead. Line number 97. And lastly, this one. 62. All right, there's one left now. Use property shorthand. Let's see what this says. Require or disallow method and property shorthand syntax for object literals. Properties, methods. A colon this thing should not be done. I don't know where I've done that though. Where have I used shorthand or not used shorthand? Expected property shorthand line 58. This one right here. Fucking it. There you go. Cool. This time should work. Probably throw an error right now. Did not even throw an error. Where is the test? Image.test.ts. This one right here. 404 not found. Generative languages.googleapis.com. Generate languages.googleapis.com /v1beta/v1beta/ models/imagegen 3.0 :predict. So why is there no /models in there? Let's see. Make model request, construct model request, new request URL. That probably comes from now. From here, toString base URL, base URL /API version /this.model. How is this working for generate text though? Generate content, make model request, model, this is a string. This.model. There you go. The path is not included. It's assumed to be a non-tunneled model. Alrighty. Should probably do the whole thing here. So generate model.ts, generate or ImageModel.ts, constructor. Yeah, that looks good. Let's try it one more time. All right, an error, and that's because there's a bad API key. So let's give it a good API key, shall we? Let's give it a good API key. Gemini API key. Go to AI Studio, get API key. Copy it from here. All right, and paste it in the test. So image.test.ts. I'm just going to replace this with my own new API key. Now I'm going to move off screen for just a second. All right, let's try the test one more time. Image model, and hopefully it returns us a decentish response. I worry about a timeout. Everything else is fine. Yeah, a timeout happened because image generation can take a long time. So what I can do is, let me again move off screen to hide the image.test.ts. Hold on. All right, there you go. Constant model equal to new image model API key. This thing. Let me change the aspect ratio to be really small. No, like the width and the height is what I wanted to specify, not the aspect ratio. Can I just do black, complete black image, and hope, Kate, it doesn't take like more than 10 seconds. Otherwise, I'll have to figure out how to increase the mocha timeout, because the image generation might take more than 10 seconds. Yeah, that took more than 10 seconds. Mocha increase timeout. All right, there we go. It accesses function a sync function. All right, wait for it. This time, hopefully. Error fetching from here. API key expired. Could have sworn I just created a new API key, but maybe I didn't. Get API key, create API key in the project, Gemini API, put it on the right. API key generated, copy it, go, oh, sorry, wrong one. Create API key, copy, open cursor, put cursor on the right, paste the API key and hope for the best. npm run test. Come on, come on. Should work this time. I can't think of a reason it shouldn't work this time. There we go. We were able to generate an image. This is what the base 64. Oh, it's a long image. I can't really see it right now. It's a really long base 64 encoded image. But yeah, it does work, which is great. MIME type image. So now we just have to write the tests. I've written a dumb test right now, which is like actually hitting the thing. We don't want that. We just need to see how they're running tests here, what's happening in generate content, and the same thing we can do on our side. So a lot of this is just dumb tests, and generative model, generative config, a bunch of things. Are we ever mocking data? We are. I've seen that. Actually, we might not. Let's see. Is there a mock somewhere? There you go. Mock response equal to get mock response. This JSON, and make stub requires this thing. Make model request dot resolve this thing. Yeah, we can write like fairly dumb tests by adding mocks and stubs. But we never have to actually hit the LLM, which I hope you guys understand why. Mock response is this thing, stub is this thing, request, make model request resolves. Yeah, exactly what we need, right? Well, a little different. We don't want this unary response.json. We don't want this. We'll have to create our own response for images. So mock responses, we'll add another, image response.test.ts, image dash response.test.ts. Here we'll add whatever it returns us, which looks something like this: predictions string, and then whatever mime type. There you go. And then maybe we can add another one. Cool. That's what our dummy response can look like. And then we can just copy this last test over here. What does restore do? What does restore do in? Oh, it probably resolves the mocks or something. That makes sense. Copy, generate image, .test.ts. Where is it? There you go. ImageModel.test.ts. Let's remove this test. We know it works. Let's paste this test and check things off here. New generative model. New image model. Yeah, that looks good. API key is a dumb API key. Model name doesn't matter, dumb model name. And that's it. Mock response is get mock response from not this file, but from image response. Sorry, what was it? What was our JSON file called? Image. What did I call the JSON file? It was called, wait for it. Or did I call it? Sorry, my bad. JSON, and that's incorrect. Image, enter, go back to the test, and yahan pe replace this with this guy. Yeah, that looks good. Stub, now the question really is, where does stub come from? Comes from Synon. You guys saw something you shouldn't have, which means I need to delete it. Gemini API keys. Where was it? Google Console. Oh. Filling. Don't need this anymore. We're just writing a bunch of stubbed tests. Gemini API. Manage credentials, and I would delete both of them. Delete. And delete the other one as well. All right, almost there, guys. Test likhna bacha hai, bas khatam hai fir. We already tested it manually. We just need to test it once more, then we're good to go with a real test. So where did I write it? ImageModel.test.ts. Image models, this thing, stub request. So where does request come from? Comes from here. Perfect. Expect from Chai, is it? Expect, where does expect come from? Does come from Chai, and this will be const Stub is done. So all I have to do is const image gen request equal colon image model parameters, and I'm going to say prompt image with a cat, and that looks wrong. Why is that? New image model, my model, and API key. What do you call generate images with a prompt? And I guess the other ones are optional, so no need for this. Call this cat image, and this should not be rejected because this guy resolves, so this should const response equal to await gen model dot generate images cat image, and yeah, let's just log it and see what it returns, and then we'll go from there. You can expect the stub to be called and a bunch of other things. Oh boy. Match, expect, define, a bunch of things defined, never used, a bunch of things used, not defined. One second. Oh boy, news I have urti. News has very important news, guys, especially for JE people. Oh, someone has joined an academy recently. Figure out who. God, I'm such a guy. All right. क्या बचा है? Make stub request sign never used. Make stub request. Yeah, I don't need that. Might need it eventually, but abhi ke liye it's fine. And one failing. Expected property name or JSON in this thing. Count tokens error if. Oh. Is that file incorrect? Yeah. All right, let's try that again. Yeah, nice. I mean, of course, there's no expects right now, but what are we logging? So 2 predictions. Why is that? Because 2 images were sent. So let me also do this. Number of images 2, and expect response dot predictions data dot predictions. No, response dot predictions. But wait, what are you returning? Generated images is an array. Predictions is an array. Image is byte 64 encoded URL. Predictions is an array of image. How did the Python API have different types then? Either the Python API is not like updated or I'm missing something here. But let's just have the right type for now. Predictions generated image array. Base 64 generated image is nothing but doesn't have so many things, honestly. Only has base 64 encoded, and what else? MIME type. This may or may not be present. Let's make it optional, and none of this is there, at least right now. And I might be missing something, but my guess currently is the Python SDK hasn't been updated. I don't think anyone's using their image generation API, basically. All right, let's go to the test again. Predictions dot length dot to be 2 dot equals expect run the test and it succeeds. All right, I've written one test. We should write more failure cases, things like these. Let me at least push this much, then we'll talk a bit and then we'll move on. Commit -m added image model tests, push it. Before I actually submit this PR, I will do a good recon on, I run the Python API locally. I want to see the difference in their Python API, JavaScript API, HTTP layer. My current guess is the types on their Python API are incorrect. I, of course, could be wrong. I'm probably am wrong, but I think, I need to make sure the types look the same in the Python SDK and the TypeScript SDK. Right now, they're a little different. But let me quickly take you guys through the difference, what all we have done, and then, we'll see how to go from there. I'm not creating a PR yet. I will, number one, write more tests. Number two, see if I want to change something architecturally, even though I think this is good enough. I don't think much will change there. And then number three, just make sure, I'm not missing something when it comes to the Python SDK. There is something that the Python SDK has and we don't. I'll fix that. All right. अभी के लिए देखो ऐसा दिख रहा है guys. ये मैंने गलत चीज़ commit भी कर दी है, तो let's revert this. Test : which one was it? Unit tests, I guess. What's the new one? This one right here. Done git add dot git commit fixed package JSON, push it. Alrighty. Generate image.ts, which was our just a helper function that sends a request to Axios and returns the response. इसकी कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है देखा जाए तो. It's doing nothing. It's just calling this function, returning the response. So you can do it up a layer, but since every other class is doing this, we're doing the same thing. We have defined a method called generate image.ts, which in the future might be used in different places. The main test for image.model.ts, we probably need a bunch of more tests for other files, but this is the main primary test that we have, which checks if image model returns the right length of images of predictions. What else? ImageModel.ts was what? It was the main primary class that we'll be using everywhere. I guess there's one more function I need to. Or do I? Yeah, I missed one thing. Generative AI. Gen-AI.ts has a get generative model function that simply returns new generative model. We need to introduce a new get image model function here. Thank you, AI. Which returns a new image model, and something similar can be added here. Again, this is the thing that really depends on the maintainers, whether or not they want the top level SDK to change. They may not. It's a discussion that needs to be done before you work on issues like these. This one of the things I was saying initially. The high probability, we have to change a bunch of files, nothing too much. We've written the code. The thing that will change is what file that code exists in, based on what the maintainers deem fit. Because the Python SDK has, a singular interface. We are now introducing two different interfaces, like GenAI.get generative model, GenAI.get image model. So we don't know if the maintainers would like that. So that's a question for them whenever we talk to them. What else? And then a bunch of types. Cool. Aaya samajh? Simple enough? Hopefully it is. I don't know, but tell me if not. But that's all I had. Oh God. How many hours? Less than 3 hours. Sounds fair, I think. Couldn't have done it faster, I think. 3 hours is pretty good for this issue. Again, it's not done. Like, I'm not PRing it. And there's not much, like, stuck at that 99%, which should take, writing a bunch of tests and thinking a few times before committing it. Everything else is, I think, is good and sorted and good to go. All right, Heji. Any questions? Anything that you guys want answered? Anything that you did not understand? Sam Altman joined an academy. No, it's not him. But you guys will know. You're all boys. All right. Any question I can help answer before I call it? Anything you guys need? I'll post a link to the diff in case you want to see it. But other than that, we're good to go. We can call it. This one right here. There you go. Can you crack the banana guy job? I don't know. Probably not. They're like co-HFT people. I would love to interview, but I doubt I'll be able to crack it. Which also for an AI, I don't know. Let's go to the docs list. No, there are a lot of good ones there. Same that come usually. I don't think there's any new AI repo that you'll find. One that I wanted to contribute was the Prometheus operator. That is, I don't know how often they come. They've come this year. So if you want a DevOps heavy project, Prometheus operator. If you want a simple MERN stack project, processing. If you want a complex MERN stack project, then thinking. I don't know if Rocket Chat is here, but maybe Rocket Chat and the other one, I forgot the other big one. Similar thing that does chat ही करने देती है वो Slack की तरह. If you want WebRTC, Jitsi has come this year. If you want AI, then what better than Deepmind? Yeah, that's a top picks for me right now. Hello, bro. I have a question. I don't know what an IBM developer is. Yeah, I think I signed the CLA license. Hey, bro, can I ask a carrier related question? Do you mean the cycle carrier? Haha. Yeah, you can ask a carrier related question. Webhook, Prometheus. It's not Prometheus. It's the Prometheus Kubernetes operator. It's a slightly different thing. And using Prometheus is easy. I don't think it's that easy to contribute. I am contributing to a code project. That is good. You changed the type for the test, but it was generating a response for Postman. Did not get it. I changed it both the places. So Postman, what is it returning? If you remember, it was returning. Where did it go? It was returning the model. The response that was returned here is the response that I have, here. Image model. This right here, prediction of scenario of images. So I made it simpler, but the Python SDK has something else, which is why I think that's wrong. All right, anything else? How can I contribute to open source now? A lot of people get in the last leg, so it's not that difficult. It's not that easy also. Like if you don't know coding, then it's not easy. But if you know coding, I have not contributed yet. This is my first, I started contributing today. If I keep at it, I think I should be able to do it. Not that I'm going to. But I think if you know good coding, then because even these guys don't have that kind of time to keep reviewing PRs or have favorites. At the end they'll be scrambling through proposals. So as long as you're in the eye, then you'll be good. College में education loan का सीन बता दो. तो standard education loan you get from any place else, you can get from here as well. The university will give you a letter that you can take to the bank and get it yourself. The university also has partners. Anything else? I have two questions. Who joined an academy and who are you going to marry? Well, what if it's the same person? No, I'm kidding. I don't know. You guys figure it out. You guys are smart. So figure it out. You'll know eventually. I think for all people who prepped for JE, they will be in for a surprise soon enough. And don't ask me how I know. But yeah, what to do after next school registration? Wait for a message, and then you'll have a one-on-one with me, and then we go from there. Please guide me. How can you understand? How can code for open source? It's first write a lot of code yourself. I think this is step 2. Don't skip a step. Don't start contributing to open source projects immediately. The first thing is, like, a lot of people are your generation, I'm saying, but the LLM generation is going one level above. I see this very often because I'm with super 30 people most of the times. So they know words, but they don't know what the words mean / do / what happens when you open the function. Basically, they know this. They'll be like, Harkirat, I'm using the generate images function. So I'm like, what does it do? I don't know. Basically, all of this is blocked for them. Sort of assume this does what it's supposed to do. And if you open this in front of them, to ghode khul jate. So I would suggest you not do that if you want to learn, if that's what you're aiming to do. That's my biggest sort of advice to new developers these days. बिना 50K के इंटरव्यू ले लो भाई फॉर नाउ ओनली कंटेंट क्रिएटर नहीं चल रही हैं चीज़ें 3-4 बट लाइक स्कूल इज़ द biggest thing at the moment. Bhaiya, if someone has to get into DevOps now, what is scratch process? DevOps, I mean, start with deploying a project. I have a free video on YouTube on DevOps. That's a good starting point. Then I have a blog.100xs.com. You'll have all the syllabus of DevOps to start to read through it. That's as easy as it gets. Can you please share your shortcuts of video? All right, that sounds good. Web3 bhi chal raha hai. I'm working with a protocol right now. What to do after 100x school? I answered that. Are you not sharing your screen? I am not. I thought I was. Fucking hell. Sorry about that. You guys had to see my face. What else? I want to get into Super 30. I know, right? I should do that. It's going to hurt my back really bad. Good advice. Chalo, we'll call it at that. Thank you all for joining. Hopefully you learned something new. And hopefully I see at least 2-3 of you get into DeepSeek. Keep saying DeepSeek, but Deepmind this year. That would be nice. So please contribute responsibly. Do not spam anyone. And मैं आऊँगा तुम्हारे घर पर नहीं तो मारने. Please take care and learn is the first important step. And earning and doing these things and contributing at this speed is all an outcome. It happens over time and over years. Now I've been coding for 8 years, so it'll happen when the time comes. With that, we will call it. Thank you all for joining. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Chuck day, bro. Good night, guys. gotta tell me. ਤੈਨੂੰ ਸੂਟ ਮੈਂ ਲਾਹੌਰ ਤੋਂ ਲਿਆਇਆ ਜੇ ਪਾ ਲੇਂਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ ਜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੜੀਏ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੇ ਨਾ ਲੇਂਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਸੂਟ ਮੈਂ ਲਾਹੌਰ ਤੋਂ ਲਿਆਇਆ ਜੇ ਪਾ ਲੇਂਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆਂ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਗੋਲੀਏ ਜੇ ਚਾ ਲੇਂਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ I'm not trying to say it, trying to tell you what it is. Wanna give you everything, but don't be on the fence. ਨਾ ਸਿੱਕਿਆ ਦਿਲ ਸਾਡਾ ਤੋੜੀ ਨਾ ਦੇਖੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਲਿਆ ਸੁੱਟ ਮੋੜੀ ਨਾ ਦੇਖੀ ਹੁਣ ਤੇਰੀ ਹਾਂ ਯਾਰ ਨਾ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ ਲੇਗੀ ਜਾ ਯਾਰ ਨਾ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ tell me And if by chance an honest man like yourself should make enemies, then he would become my enemies. And then they would fear you. टीम जमा थाली लेके घुमा सारे आम शहर में दुनाली लेके चक्या पूरा जिम्मा पैरियां की फ्यूनरल का खुद पहुंचा करा